I felt compelled after I heard some remarks by one of our distinguished colleagues from the other party, eloquent remarks about the spending the United States is doing or is proposing to do in Iraq, and his concerns for the deficit situation in the United States of America. And I share his concern for the deficit, but I think I needed to clarify some facts, Madam Speaker. If we're concerned about the deficit, and then we must be consistent. Because that same party in this Congress, and this is my first term here, has proposed amendments to major pieces of legislation that would have increased the deficit by $890 billion. Now you heard me right, almost $1 trillion of an increase on top of the deficit that exists right now. And yet, when in the Budget Committee, the chairman of the Budget Committee proposed a 1% cut, just a 1% cut in waste, fraud, and abuse. Madam Speaker, the distinguished members of the other party, all, 100% of them, voted no. The chairman didn't get one single vote to cut just 1% in waste, fraud, and abuse in that committee. Oh, is it because there isn't enough waste, fraud, and abuse in the federal government? Is the federal government so efficiently run that we cannot find 1% in waste, fraud, and abuse? Madam Speaker, I've been mentioning lots of examples, as you know, as part of the Washington Waste Watchers group that Representative Henserling, Representative Feeney, and I created with a number of our colleagues. But let me just mention a couple more small examples to illustrate how much waste does exist. For example, Madam Speaker, Medicaid alone paid $1.6 million to a Wisconsin transportation company for multiple round-trip billings for people that were dead or that were hospital-bound that weren't moving anywhere. $1.6 million. But there's a lot more. The Veterans Affairs Inspector General has identified over 5,500 possible cases of individuals who may be defrauding the government by receiving benefits intended for our veterans, but who have died, who are dead, who are not there, who don't exist. Totally fraudulent. And again, that's money that does not then go to the real veterans that do deserve it. Over the past 5 years, 6,733 fugitives have been arrested for illegally receiving food stamps. By the way, 1,500 of those were drug offenders, 31 of those were murderers, 45 were sex offenders and child molesters, and hundreds were wanted for assault and robbery, and yet they received benefits that they're not qualified for. And yet some will say, oh no, there's not enough to cut 1% in waste, fraud, and abuse. And you see what they request as opposed to that. And we hear it time and time again, is they keep saying, the Democrats keep saying the solution is we just got to raise taxes. We can't make the tax cuts permanent. We got to raise the taxes because there isn't enough money, because the federal government is run so efficiently that we can't cut 1% of waste, fraud, and abuse. Madam Speaker, the facts don't bear that out. The federal government does waste people's money. The federal government loses almost $20 billion a year that just evaporates, that they don't even know where that is, the federal government can't even misspend it because it's lost. And then they still say, our good friends on the Democratic side, that we have to raise the hard-working American taxpayers' taxes because there's no waste, fraud, and abuse. Madam Speaker, the American people know better. We can and we must cut waste, fraud, and abuse, and clearly the days of raising taxes on the American people have to be over, and they are. Thank you, Madam Speaker.